Northern Hemisphere Team of the Year, excluding Japan. I've given Japan to the Southern Hemisphere. I've done another video for the Southern Hemisphere team. Check that one out if you haven't seen it already. It's going to be an interesting one to compare the two sides. But yes, Northern Hemisphere Team of the Year. These videos are always a bit of fun. That's the kind of main objective. But this year I've set some rules as to how we pick this team. And kind of try to fill out the best 15 from these rules. Have a go at home if you want. It's a bit of a balancing act to try and get the strongest 15, but essentially we're going to pick mainly players from the teams you would expect, like the Six Nations teams, plus there's going to be Georgia in there as well. And we're going to pick based on their kind of world rankings. So the highest ranked Northern Hemisphere team, as I record this video, end of 2021, is England. So we're going to pick 4 players from England, but it has to be at least 1 forward and 1 back. So I can't pick all 4 forwards, can't pick all 4 backs, if that makes sense. Got to have at least 1 forward and at least 1 back. The other two kind of pick them as you like them. Ireland is the second ranked Northern Hemisphere team, so we're going to pick 3 Irish. We're going to pick 2 French, 2 Scots, 2 Welsh, 1 Georgian and 1 Italian. They also have to be players that played for their team this year. So if there was a guy who spent pretty much the whole season out injured, you can't pick that person. So yes, there we go. That's how we're going to pick it. We'll start with the front rowers, and you guys can, as I said, have a go at home. Let me know in the comments what team you've been able to come up with, and yeah, we'll go from there. We'll start with Loosehead Prop. And I'm getting ready for the comment which says, I watched your video until you said this name and then I turned it off. Because I go with Wyn Jones. Wyn Jones from Wales. And people hate Wyn Jones. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's certain aspects of certain groups of fans that don't like Wyn Jones. And I will admit, end of the year, not his best time. He had an injury during the Lions tour. And he didn't quite look the business since that injury, but my memory I think is a bit longer than that. In that start of the year, Six Nations, the guy was on fire. He was propping the house down. I think he got clocked in the head a few times, but yeah, he was just having a very, very good go of it. He was Gats starting Loosehead, I think, for a pretty good reason. He was in phenomenal form. So that's the Wyn Jones that I'm picking. He was in 2021. He was in great form. I backed that guy to do a job. Hopefully he can get back to that form in 2022, because as I said, it's not quite been there at the end of the year. Hooker, I have picked a Frenchman in Marchand because he has also absolutely looked the business. He is a bit of a monster around the park, and he does his set piece job also phenomenally very well. I kind of wish he'd get more accolades because he seems to be overlooked a wee bit. Maybe that's just the English-speaking media that I see. Maybe the French press love him. I'm not sure, but he's a really good player. And yeah, I think he's a kind of worthy choice of one of only 2 French picks that I've got. I mean, they've got a heap of good forwards, but I've picked him, which kind of shows what I reckon about him as being a proper class player. Now, tight head, there was only one choice. I mean, he's pretty much, in terms of forwards, first name off the team sheet. Absolutely, and that's Tyke Furlong. I mean, I genuinely think he's probably the best tight head prop around the world. Now, I know the South African scrums mean, and I know Mal Herber, for example, is a phenomenal scrummager, but so is Tyke Furlong, and Tyke Furlong's got like the skills of a centre sometimes to twinkle toe his way around the park. Like, he has just got such an all-round skill set. It's very, very rare. Like, sometimes you get guys who are good around the park, not that good in the scrum, or vice versa, but Tyke Furlong genuinely, I think, has it all. Probably should have been nominated for World Player of the Year at some point, but there you go. You guys know he's good. I think he is one of the best in the world, so there you go. So I got an Irishman, a Welshman, and a Frenchman in my front row. Still got 4 English to pick, and we'll pick one of them in the second row. That's Maro Itoje. Kind of like Wyn Jones. Some fan bases don't like Maro, and I think it's because he can be a bit of a... what's the right word I'm looking for? He can be, especially when he's playing for Saracens, he can be a bit niggly, right? Like, I've seen him give Scottish fans a bit of grief once. Was it when they played Glasgow a couple of years ago? I don't remember, but I remember thinking, not the best thing. But as a player, I mean, the guy's huge. It helps that he's got a huge wingspan. Like, height-wise, he's not that tall for a lock, but he's got huge arms, and he makes very, very good use of them. Disrupting line-out ball, making dominant tackles. He's not like the hugest ball-carrying lock, but yeah, his work rate around the park, his dominant tackles, his turnovers, his line-out stuff. Yeah, he is quite an athlete. So Maro is there in the second row, and to partner him, I've gone with another Irishman in James Ryan. Initially, I had Alan Wynne. Alan Wynne, maybe because he got injured, he's not in my more recent memory. I do think he's another one who's better than people for some reason. Don't give him credit. Outside Wales, he's got a huge work rate as well, but so does James Ryan. James Ryan didn't go on the Lions tour, but he gets around the park everywhere. He loves a carry. Like, not all locks carry like he does, but he just absolutely loves the contact, loves the tackles as well. And he just does that thing that coaches, like, I don't know how much he can coach it, but just gets up off the floor and does it again. Maybe like Johnny Gray, does it again. But I think he's a better ball carrier than Johnny Gray. So, yeah, there you go. James Ryan. Pretty good player. Pretty good looking. Type 5, I reckon. Couple of Irishmen, an Englishman, a Welshman, and a Frenchman. There you go. Loosies. There's a heap of good Loosies. And another one. Maybe this is just like a Six Nations thing where I feel like there's a bit more niggle between the countries and a lot of players are disliked by each other. But Courtney Laws. Courtney Laws is a great player, but people seem to hate him. Is it because he's English? I'm not sure. Dominant tackles. He's got them all day long. Line out work, disruption, and securing your own ball, because he's another one. Huge arms, and he's tall. Absolutely phenomenal. Has some of the best line out stats in the Six Nations pretty much every year where he plays a number of games. So, yeah, I mean, he's a different player. If you're looking for a big ball-carrying number 6, he's probably not that guy. So that's why you kind of need to balance things out with some other guys, which I think I've done. But, yeah, Courtney Laws, line out, defensively, very, very, very useful player. Open side, I've gone with the Mish. He's my Scottish pick in the forwards. Hamish Watson. I love Hamish Watson. I mean, he was player of the Six Nations, which kind of speaks to the year he had as well. Another guy with a huge work rate, but especially for the turnovers. The guy loves a pilfer. I know Tom Curry does as well, but the Mish, heaps of tackles, heaps of turnovers, and doesn't get credit for his ball carrying by some. Like, I don't know, certain rugby scribes don't seem to think he's big enough. But it doesn't matter about your size if you can get the ball going forward. And I've looked at his stats enough times to know that he does. I mean, look at Cheslin Colby. He's tiny, but he's got heaps of power. So sometimes it doesn't actually matter about their build. But yeah, Hamish does a good job every time I see him play. And lastly, I've got my Georgian in here. I only get one Georgian. I've picked my Georgian in the forwards. You might have thought you'd go for a prop, but I think genuinely Beka Gorgadze is Georgia's best player that I know. I don't watch Georgia enough to be really kind of, too informed in my decision there. But I know every time I see this guy play, he is Georgia's biggest ball carrier, at least in the forwards, and he makes the most tackles usually. Like, just the coach's dream. I remember him at the World Cup. The guy was phenomenal. Absolutely stood out amongst his teammates. And like the game against Fiji that they played in the autumn, I didn't even see that game. Looked up the stats. Guess what? He's the top tackler and the top ball carrier. So what else do you want, man? The guy is a unit. So yeah, I guess if you want someone to carry the ball forward, if you don't pick a big guy like, I don't know, like a guy with a skill set like Doris in there, or an Irishman like Conan. This is the kind of Georgian Conan, I guess, because he's got that kind of similar style game play. So there you go. There's your forwards. Backs, number 9, pretty easy choice. You go with Antoine Dupont, don't you? Absolutely. Like, World Player of the Year. Just the top of his game in 2021. Like, phenomenal. Does crazy stuff. Funnily enough, sometimes when he's just good, he looks bad in a way, which is weird because he's usually pretty incredible. And I know you can get a bit fanboyish, but he just does really, really, really good stuff. So, yeah, you got to go Dupont. I think that's, like, him and Furlong, I think are two of the first names off the team sheet. If you could only pick one, which one do you go with first? I don't know. But they're both very, very good and very, very important positions for their teams. 10, I actually switched this round a bit. Initially, I had a Scotsman here, but I've switched it to an Englishman with Marcus Smith. He's still very much a rookie, a kind of not up and coming, but he's just come along to the international scene, right? and he stepped in virtually without any kind of stutter. He is just, slid into it like it was natural as. Does amazing. I mean, his Harlequins team's a fun team to watch at club level as well. But he's just got good goal kicking, but also a really good all-round skill set. Distributes well, got that old goose step of his, takes the ball to the line when needed, no-look passes. He's got a really good skill set. Got a big career ahead of him. Eddie's been talking him up recently, which is a bit scary, because Eddie tends to ignore young talent sometimes, but there you go. He's been picking him, and he's been talking him up. So Marcus Smith there at 10. Still a bit unproven, but it's a fantasy team, so why not take a chance? Inside centre, I've got an Irishman in Robbie Henshaw. And I think kind of like some of the guys, like Wyn Jones, maybe even George North before he got injured, was having a phenomenal start to the year. And I'm not saying he's had a bad end to the year, but his start of the year was incredible. Like he was, in terms of when you were picking a Lions team, he was one of the first names off the team sheet easy because he was just running riot. He was absolutely phenomenal at, for that Irish team in the Six Nations. So easily one of the best midfielders in the world. He's got a pretty good all-round game, doesn't he? Like, what aspect of his game is he not that good at? Does he kick that much? Maybe not, but he's pretty good at most things. So, pretty happy to have him there. Partnering him, I initially had somebody else, but I've gone with Chris Harris. Maybe it's the Lions' influence on me, but partly because I picked a Fijian who's a bit of a blockbusting ball carrier in my Southern team, I kind of picked a direct blocker to that in Chris Harris. Like Chris Harris, defensively, one of the best midfielders in the world. Able to shut down a lot of stuff. I mean, again, not flawless, nobody is, but very, 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 very good reader of the game. Puts in some big bone-crunching tackles, and he's still useful on attack as well. He's not a slouch, but I'm kind of leaving a little bit more of that to Henshaw, but there you go. That's the midfield. We've got 3 left. I've still got my Italian to pick. I've got another Welshman and I've got another Englishman. So I'm going to chuck Monty Ioane on the left wing. He's outstanding. He is outstanding. Breaks, tackles seemingly pretty effortlessly. He's very quick. He is just an X-factor player. Sometimes you just need that guy. Your team may not be looking like creating much. You get it to him and suddenly something's on. I think he's your guy. So chuck him there on the left wing. He's looked great since he's come onto the international scene, I think last year. Right wing, I've gone with Louis Rees-Zammit. Just lightning quick player. So you got a bit of power in Ioane on the left wing, and then you got Rees lightning. I'm sure I've heard that somewhere before. On the right wing, yeah, he's just lightning quick, isn't he? Another guy with kind of a huge future ahead of him. He's just tracking really well. Another guy who's come on young with big expectations and seemingly just taken to it like a duck to water and kind of going from strength to strength. So, yeah, very pleased for him in 2021. Chuck him in there, went on the Lions tour. And then finally, fullback. I could have gone with Hogg or somebody else, but I ended up going with another kind of rookie player from England that Eddie has blooded in recent times in Freddie Stewart. Has looked really impressive in what limited amount we've seen him at international level. Phenomenal under the high ball, and that is such a skill these days. If you saw my Southern Hemisphere team, I also picked a guy who's very secure under the high ball because these days at international level it's such a vital skill. If you've got a fullback who's a little bit susceptible to a bit of the dropsies at the high ball, they're going to get targeted all day long. I mean, some guys who are excitement machines like Minozzi and like Damien McKenzie, they got a little bit exposed this year, I thought. But the big tall guys like Geordie Barrett, like Freddie Stewart, have just really kind of come into their own with the way the game is being played at the moment. And he's good on attack as well. It's not just about his catching, but he's also a bit of a lethal finisher. So, yeah, that's the 15. As I said, if you want to have a go at home, you need to pick 4 players from England, at least 1 forward, at least 1 back. You need to pick 3 from Ireland, same deal, 2 from France, 2 from Scotland, 2 from Wales, 1 from Georgia, and 1 from Italy, because that's their rankings in the world, the kind of top 7 teams, with a bit more weighting on the teams at the top. So, yeah, you guys let me know what your thoughts are on the team. Who would you change? Who would you have in? Would you swap Curry to put in for Watson? But then you need to take out Laws and put in one of the Scottish other back rowers. Do you put in Richie? Didn't go on the Lions tour. Do you put Hogg in there somehow? Do you chuck in Finn Russell? Part of me was like, Russell and DuPont are so crazy that they couldn't work together. I don't know. It'd be magic to see it, but yeah. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts. Who would you have in your team? As I said, South versus North. Who do you reckon wins in this kind of Barbars style competition? And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.